What is up, guys? This is Red Hood 420. I'm here to bring you guys a review slash rant of Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 3, The Long Night. And I have a lot of things to say about this episode. It's going to be very unfiltered. It's going to be just talk about the whole episode in of itself, what I liked, what I didn't like, and go into some of the problems I have, even going from seasons 1 to this point regarding the White Walkers, the threat of the White Walkers, right? So to start off, we have, the first 10 minutes is like a very tense moment because they're getting into position and, kind of preparing themselves to face the White Walker threat. And we see Jorah in the front lines along with the Dothraki, and we see ghosts, right? We see ghosts. And yeah, the red woman, Melisandre, just shows up out of nowhere, unannounced, just randomly, and it's like, yo, let me just light up your swords, guys. Just raise it up. I'm gonna light them up. And I was like, okay, that's cool, I guess. That's cool. And then they lead the charge, and I was like, is that very smart? Because there's a lot of White Walkers and stuff like that. I really don't think that's a smart idea, but okay. I mean, I feel like I'm like both on the side of like I understand why people had their problems with that part of basically leading them to their deaths, as well as like what else would the Dothraki do though? Would they just wait and wait for the White Walkers to charge in and then they go for it? Because I feel like either way, it's like the Dothraki always charge into battle. You saw with the season 7 battle. So it's like I don't know. I'm like, oh, I understand people's gripes with it. Me, it didn't affect me as much, and it just shows like even though that the Dothraki are very experienced fighters, that they weren't to get overwhelmed. And you did see people retreating, and Ghost also went there with them, and you don't see Ghost, but it's like, oh my gosh, Ghost is like dead then, right? And it's like, why would they kill him off screen? No, somehow he survives, and somehow like he didn't just escape. So supposedly we see a picture of him in the episode 4 preview. So I was like, oh, okay. So we also see the White Walkers charge in, attack, and several instances we see these main characters like Jaime, Brienne, Sam just shows up and is like, hey, let me fight. And I'm just like, why, Sam, why? You're always scared about this type of stuff, about fighting, and he just shows up just because. And, they're fighting the White Walker threat. It's like World War Z in a sense of, like, how they're, like, phew, just going on top of each other. And I was like, there were cool shots of it. But, it looked very much like World War Z-esque. And, they're having their battle and stuff like that. There were some instances where certain characters should have died when they're being overwhelmed and, like, having, like, a ton of walkers on them. But they somehow survive in the front lines, like Jaime, Brienne, and Podrick and stuff. They somehow survive. Sam barely kills any, and the man is just crying and moping and stuff like that, and gets Ed killed. Ed just dies, and I was like, okay, it kind of shows like a mistake of trying to help your friend, even though like your friend's being a coward, and hopefully some people will realize that Sam is just like a coward right there and then, and they shouldn't really forgive him for that. But I highly doubt the characters are gonna be like, oh, Sam, why'd you do that? It's like he'll be like, oh, I killed Ed on accident, and just like mope around in the next couple episodes for doing that and should have stayed in the crypt. But whatever. So we also see that Danny and John in the mountain, and I'm just like, okay, they're with their dragons, just looking, just seeing the carnage, and then they finally do something and start, killing the White Walkers with dragon fire. And then, if I recall, they basically retreat inside because they're being overwhelmed, and legit winter comes, right? You got the big blizzard storm coming in, and basically you can't really see much. It's a very dark episode as well. Like the lighting was just awful, and I had to straight up turn up the brightness for the TV just because people were complaining about that for the episode. So it was like, yeah, we gotta turn up the brightness because this is too much darkness. And it's like, I understand they're in Belfast, filming for 55 nights, straight nights. So it's kind of hard when creating this battle, and it's going to be very dark and supposed to be dark, but it's like, you gotta, like, at least brighten it up a bit, something, slightly, so we can see things. I also wasn't a big fan of the jump cuts. There were a lot of jump cuts of the episode in shaky cams. It was kind of hard to follow at times, and it was very fast, and like the jump cuts and like were kind of like, the motion too was weird when transitioning. So I was just like, I don't like that part. But there were a couple cool shots, like the dragons and stuff like that, and then the dragons were basically stuck in the storm, and then John just gets out. I know the dragons hit each other, and then John just gets out of the storm, and Danny's stuck in the storm. He's on the castle, and basically they retreat into the castle, and they want to do the trenches, and legit Danny can't see it. It doesn't make sense because John's right there. He could have done something, but Melisandre comes in and is having her face shaken because she's trying to light the whole trench on fire so the White Walkers wouldn't cross over. And I was like, oh, cool fire effect, it works and all that. And then I believe like Bran's already just wargs in, right? And he just walks into the crow, and then we see, straight up the Night King go like, all right, we're just going to have a couple of my undead army just straight up create like a little kind of like bridge so the fire would be put out. So then they would get through, right? And then we see kind of like World War Z of them going up the wall and stuff like that. And Arya has her badass moment, right? She's killing a bunch of White Walkers that come through and then gets her head hit, and then she goes into the library, and we got yet again a lot of characters getting hugged, like Jaime, Brienne, who else am I thinking? Brienne, Jaime, Podrick as well. And I'm like, bro, they should have died right there. They got 100 zombies on them, somehow they're surviving, and then Brienne being screaming, making me think that she's dying or something, but no, they're just hugging her. It's like basically plot armor at this point, right? Plot armor. And Beric with his flaming sword, cool. The Hound, gets scared and stuff like that, and sees Arya, and he's like, "Oh, gotta save her." And he goes and does that. What else? Yeah, we have this like horror-esque scene, from, like, I think it's like the library in the Stark house, in Stark, compound, right? And she's just trying to survive and all this other stuff because she got her head hit, and so she's hurt. So there are a bunch of White Walkers there. She's trying to hide and trying to leave and all this other stuff, and it has the blood dripping, and the White Walkers hear it and stuff. So I'm just like, what? They hear blood drip, but don't hear the footsteps. It's like, okay, whatever. Even though like blood dripping is like very much, I feel like less like quiet than footsteps. That's just me though. But of course she escapes, and basically Beric is the next person to die, saving Arya. Then what else? This isn't like 100% account. I'm just thinking of what actually happened in the episode. Giant breaks through the gate, of course. Straight up kicks Lady Mormont. I think kicks her head. I forgot. But she goes flying. I was like, oh gosh. I was like, that's rip. She somehow survives and basically crushes her when the giant crushes her. And I'm just like, geez, that was kind of hard to watch or hear per se. And she kills it. She's dead. Not very sad deaths. People would be like, oh, it's sad. I was like, oh, it wasn't that sad, at all. What else happened? I'm trying to think as much as I can go. That was the next death. Oh, so yeah, they had their battle with Viserion and the Night King, both John and Danny, right? So they're attacking each other and all this other stuff, and the dragon goes down, along with the Night King falling, right? And Rhaegal has to go down, and somehow Rhaegal survives, and Jon straight up sees the Night King. It's like, oh boy, gotta kill him, gotta kill him. It makes sense, right? He has to kill him. And, you know, he legit's like, you know, trying to race up to him, and he raises the dead, right? He raises the dead, and they're in a crypt. So, Sansa and Tyrion and Varys and all of them, and Sam's girlfriend. I forgot Sam's girlfriend's name. She's not that important. Gilly, I think it's Gilly. And they're in a crypt, right? You would think, oh wait, he raises the dead. We should have just got rid of the bodies. Maybe they thought it's very disrespectful to do something like that, but better to be safe than sorry, right? But, you know, people are dying in the crypt. Basically, no one, like, the important characters legit don't die. Gilly doesn't die. Varys doesn't die. Sansa doesn't die. And Tyrion doesn't die. It's just, like, random people there die. And when, you know, Jon's, you know, going to basically try to get to Night King as fast as possible, he doesn't make it. And then, you know, Dany goes to the rescue, giving him an opening to, you know, go chase off after the Night King. I was just like, okay, cool. He's going to go and, you know, try and save Bran, right? After that, basically, Dany gets basically overrun by a bunch of the undead on her dragon. And straight up, you know, Drogon is, like, getting stabbed a lot. Like, a lot. I don't know if he would have died by all those, you know, attacks, right? But Drogon basically bucks her off and he leaves. Like, bro, he's getting hurt. Of course he's gonna leave. He just does not want to die. He's a from George's, like, from what I heard from George's book, I haven't even, like, finished reading a book fully from George. Is dragons are intelligent creatures, very intelligent. I think the most intelligent creatures out there. Of course they're gonna, like, have a mind of their own and be like, shoot, I don't want to die. I need to, like, get them off of me. It looked cool though, those shots and all that. What else? Basically Dany's about to die. Jorah comes out, saves her, right? And, you know, they have this standoff. Everyone's just trying to, you know, survive, right? Jon sees everyone being overrun, and for him, that was a moment, right? That is a moment for the greater good. He ignored them. He has to stop this threat. And thank goodness Jon had that mind. He overcame that. He knew, I had to do this for the greater good. I have to kill the Night King. And he goes for it. You know, somehow Viserion's still alive. You know, the Night King's dragon, still alive somehow. Yeah, but, you know, with the bite marks and stuff like that. He's, like, blowing, you know, the fire at Jon, and he's at the walls and the rocks and stuff like that. Doesn't get killed. A lot of people are complaining about that. Me thinking about it, it's like the dragon's throat was messed up and stuff like that, so he wasn't as powerful as he was when he knocked, you know, the one area of the building for the Stark's place, right? So, or the wall. So now he can't really, like, do as much damage. That's what I thought. I don't know if that's the case, because you saw the fire coming out of his, like, throat. So I was like, okay, you know, whatever, cool. And Jon's, like, trying to get to, you know, that area where Bran's at, and, you know, Theon's, you know, protecting Bran and all that when the Whites are there. And legit, everyone else dies, but Theon's still alive in there. And basically, I completely forgot, because missing, when Beric dies and they're in that room, Melisandre's there basically saying, you know, we got brown eyes, green eyes, blue eyes, you'll shut the eyes forever. And basically trying to hint to the audience and other people that she has to do something, right? We don't know exactly what, but we'll find out later, even though we'll go more into detail what happens. So, Bran finally finishes being unwarged, right? And he's just like, tells Theon, you're a good man. And I was like, okay, that's great. Theon was just like happy that he was being recognized by somebody else, that his arc of redemption has come to an end, that he has redeemed himself to the eyes of his family and other people, like, and overcoming himself as being weak, and even pre-Theon, like, Theon, like, he doesn't like himself before Reek, and after, like, leaving. He didn't like that part as being Reek. So he's like, wow, I'm finally home. And he tries to do a last-ditch effort into basic, killing himself, essentially. Because, like, the Night King is like, just stabs him and he's dead. And the Night King comes. They stare at each other, right? And John's just yelling at the dragon. Other people are, like, almost about to die, right? And out of nowhere, you see a white, right? And he turns his head slightly. And out of nowhere, Arya jumps, like, so high in the air. Night King grabs her by the throat. And she has the dagger, drops it, stabs him in the stomach. Didn't look like the chest. And we're like, okay. And the Night King dies. The Night King dies. And this is where I have an issue with. Oh, I completely forgot. When the Night King fell and stuff like that. Daenerys used Drogon to use fire on him, and he was being enveloped, and he didn't die from dragonfire, basically. I thought it was a cool scene. I knew what was gonna happen. It was predictable, like, oh, and he smirks, and I was like, that's the first thing that the Night King showed some sort of emotion. So I'm just like, but I thought the Night King doesn't do anything, he just smirked. So I don't know if that was an actor thing or a director thing, but whatever, right? Basically we knew he wasn't gonna die from dragonfire, but he dies from a Valyrian steel dagger. So we have this whole build-up, right? And basically all the White Walkers, I would say the White Walkers burst, shatter like glass, combust, whatever you want to say. They just die. And all the whites just fall over. The dragon, gone. Not gone, but falls over. And basically, they're dead. Everything's dead. Basically, Melisandre just goes out, takes off her necklace, just dies. Becomes old and dies. So when Sir Davos was about to, like, kill her, because basically, Sir Davos hates her because of what happened to Stannis' daughter, what they did to her, sacrificed her by burning her, and basically wants to kill her. Told her, said, hey, if you come back, we're going to kill you. But she's already said by the end of dawn, I'll die. Which it was like dawn, and she dies. Overall, did not like how the Night King went out. The Night King should have been harder to kill. It should have been a couple more episodes long. Because this was the big bad threat of the whole entire season. The whole entire season, right? And it's not like it was like a sidetrack thing. It wasn't like, oh, we haven't been hyping him up for long. It's not like we haven't shown him in the first scene of episode 1, season 1. Like, they were hyping up the big bad White Walkers for a long time. And he just dies just like that. And then we go back into the politics when we see the episode preview. And Daenerys like, we beat the Great War. Now we have the last war. It's like, what? Like, this whole time you're gonna tell me Cersei's the big bad? Like, really? Cersei isn't the big bad. She wasn't hyped up in the first episode of the scene 1. Like, I don't understand why. Just why? Because we had the Azor Ahai prophecy and talked about the prince or princess that was promised, right? To basically end the White Walkers. It was hinted at ending the White Walkers. So pulling out the sword of a flaming sword out of like your loved one or something like that. To basically vanquish the White Walkers. Right? For me, I'm just like, that whole prophecy is just gone. Right? And then, like, hearing people defend it and say, oh, well, Arya deserved it. It built up her arc. They knew this from season 1. No, they didn't know. They didn't know. They didn't know from season 2 or 3 when that prophecy of the eyes. They didn't know that. I'm sorry for yelling, but they didn't know that. Even in the inside episode, they knew who was going to kill the Night King 3 years ago. That was the making of season 7. They wanted to subvert expectations for the episode. And my thing is, right, people are saying, well, it's going to be in George's ending. No, it's not. They said they picked who would kill. They didn't say George. They didn't say George told us. They said that they picked. They had an outline already. And they probably say Night King dies. Not by who. They said the Night King dies. And they were like, Arya, in season 7. We got Arya because she's the least expected. And I'm just like, huh? She didn't even know about the White Walkers. And you're going to tell me, legit, the Whites were circled around Bran. And the only way was like near the generals. You're going to tell me the generals are going to barely notice running by and her jumping so high in the air? Like, no, what is she, Spider-Man or something? Like, she can jump that high? Like, no. And you're going to tell me the Night King would just fall for a trick like that? Like, oh man, you dropped the dagger, the whole cliche thing, stabbed me in the gut. And they were saying, well, he was with that tree, and this is kind of where he was born, and hit him in the same area where the dragon glass was placed into him. I was like, but that looked like his gut. That didn't look like his chest. That doesn't make any sense to me, right? I just don't understand that point, where it's being made. And people were also saying, well, the Azor Ahai prophecy is technically completed. And it's like, what? What do you mean? Well, because the Lightbringer is Arya, right? And I'm like, oh no, not this. You're reading so much into it because even the writers didn't even think about that stuff for this episode. They confirmed basically them knowing Arya kills the Night King 3 years ago, the making of season 7. It was never hinted at. They basically hinted stuff at season 7. They were never hinting at that throughout her arc. At all. It didn't make sense. You're going to tell me the Night King dies that easily from Valyrian steel that's forged from Dragonfire? Like, what? Like, that, no. That doesn't make sense. And, like, if you're going to tell me Cersei's a big bad, it's just like, my expectations for this show has been lowered significantly. This whole battle/war, I felt should have went on longer. It's supposed to be a long night. That's a very short night, right? And I apologize for notifications for my phone and stuff like that, but it's just dumb. It's dumb. Because you're supposed to get all these groups of people to come together as ones, together, so they can battle the biggest threat ever. This isn't about politics anymore. This isn't about families anymore. We have to overcome death. And just like that. Just like that. And my thing is, like, this episode just was very dark. A lot of jump cuts. Like, don't get me wrong, Miguel, I think still directed well. It's just like I feel like it's hard to do something like that to get steady shots of so much chaos. But I do feel like the jump cuts, which are edits, by the way, so I don't even think that was his fault. I think that was really the showrunner's fault. And I think they usually they have good cuts. Like this time the cuts were just bad. I think in terms of directing episode wise and acting wise, like amazing. But also finding out Arya couldn't fight after being hit. Like, I knew she was hurt. I didn't know that she couldn't fight. And you're going to tell me that she can do a move like that when she's hurt too? When you confirm that to me just a bit dumb. To me. Bit dumb. That's really what I think about that. I think the score was good. Overall, there's a lot of plot armor, and, Miguel can't really do much because it's you're going to say, oh, there's a bunch of hordes on him, and he has to follow that. It's not he can't change the script, Miguel. He has to stick with it, and I just find, the writing has just been just bad. This episode, the writing was awful. Yeah, I was just very, stunned and what they did. in this episode. And the big bad threat's over. Bran, like, what was his whole point? What was his whole point? I can't say. Why did he work for so long? People were saying, well, Bran was warging because he was trying to lure the Night King out. And I'm thinking, bro, he has the mark. He has the mark from the Night King. The Night King knows where he's at. He doesn't have to work to get him over. Like, he knows he's there. He can sense him. He knows his location. He's been knowing that for a while now. So, I don't know why people are saying warging was just to lure him. No, it's not. That wasn't the case, okay? Not the case at all. And what else? Like, also, like, what was the point of bringing back Jon? Like, the prince that was promised. You were saying, oh, you're the prince that was promised. You're the prince that was promised. To, you know, defeat the basically the Night King. Nope. That's not a thing. I guess people are going to say, well, to bring everyone together. That's not really the whole point. The prince that was promised now. So, what else can I say? Not a lot of character deaths. And, oh yeah, I completely forgot. Yeah, Jorah dies, saving Daenerys. There was that, you know. That was a cool moment, you know. He loved her. Friend zone to the end. Friend zone to the end. Overall, I was like, okay. I mean, it is what it is, you know. Daenerys has her heartfelt moment, and then the dragon comforts them. So I was just like, dragon comforts her. Drogon, it was Drogon. So, yeah. What else to say? Arya. I just don't understand. Like, is she the main character now? Is she? She's having these big moments, and what next? You're gonna say that Arya has Gendry's kid, and Gendry becomes like the new king, and she sits with her husband, and they basically go on the Iron Throne, and it's like, okay, I guess. I mean, if you're going that way, and if you're going with the green eyes with Cersei, and if let me get this straight. If Arya kills Cersei, is everyone going to be okay with that? Because there's already a prophecy, and I believe in the show they even said the prophecy of her younger sibling killing her, which is either Jaime or Tyrion. Are we going to be fine with Arya killing Cersei as well if they go with this route? Because they're trying to subvert expectations. Like, oh my gosh, well, because everyone's expecting Tyrion and Jaime to kill him. You know what? We're gonna have Arya kill her, and I'm gonna be like, this is bad writing. They've been hinting throughout the seasons, and that it's either gonna be Jaime or Tyrion that kills her. That's the prophecies. And you're going to be like, oh, Arya kills her. There we go. Brown eyes, the Frey. Blue eyes, the Night Walker. And green eyes, Cersei. Like, you might as well just have Arya just go in and assassinate and just be done with it. Like, that's to this point. Like, oh, she can just infiltrate infiltrate King's Landing. Just kill her like that. Very much so. Like, what's the point? If we're going to go that route, what's the point? Right? It's like Arya does everything now. Kills the Freys, kills the Night Walkers, and now basically, hopefully, it's like it's gonna kill Cersei. Do we think that's gonna happen? Let me know. Do you think Arya is gonna kill Cersei? Because I will not be surprised anymore. I will not. After you told me, like, legit, if you told me, like, season 1, when the Night King was introduced, that Arya would kill her, the Night King, I would be like, you're crazy. Like, why would they do something that dumb when it's being hinted at if it's Daenerys or Jon? Right? And the whole prophecy thing, too. I was like, the Lightbringer, nope, I guess not. I guess those prophecies, fake. Okay. Like, my whole thing is people are probably going to say, well, you're saying this because Arya's a woman. I don't care. Like, bruh, it could have been Daenerys that brings Lightbringer, and I don't care. It could have been Jon, or it could have been Daenerys. I'm fine with either one. Arya makes no sense whatsoever with her Valyrian steel dagger. You're gonna tell me Valyrian steel made from Dragonfire, forged from Dragonfire, is going to kill a Night Walker? Okay. I just don't understand that logic. I just feel like the writing has been on the... Like, I try to defend the show a lot. Like, even especially in season 7. It's like, oh, the Ravens have to go to Dragonstone. And then straight up, Daenerys has to fly all the way there with the dragon. It will take a while. The Ravens going to take a longer time than dragons. But I'm just like, where's the logic in that? I'm just like, oh my gosh. Now I'm just like, what's the point? Like, my only thing is this. What could save this episode is the Night King's actually not really, really dead. And what I mean by that, of course, his physical form is gone, but somehow the spirit is still there. Maybe takes over Bran. Bran becomes a new White Walker. Something needs to happen in order for me to be like that. And also, what happened with the whole throne for Daenerys' vision? It was snowing. You saw in Throne snow coming. So it seemed like the Night Walker comes to King's Landing, right? But no, it doesn't happen. So what happened? I'm confused. Does that vision not actually happen at all? Is that not going to be a thing anymore? Or is that supposed to be symbolic? Which probably is now going to be super symbolic, and then it just snows in King's Landing for no apparent reason. I guess that's the case. I know this review and rant has been going on long enough. I think the episode, directing-wise, great. Acting-wise, great. Plot armor, which is writing, terrible. Terrible. Not many main character deaths. Like, all these characters that died, their character arc was done. Like, I can name a lot of character arcs that are done. Like, Sam's done. His arc is done. Gilly's done. Who else? Brienne's done. She's a knight already. Like, what's the point of having her now? Jaime's is not over. Tyrion's is not over. Like, Jon and Dany, like, yeah, they're not over. Or you could have had one of them die, which would be great, I think. But having Theon, like, his arc was already over. Like, we knew by the time that, like, Theon agreed to protect Bran, we knew. That was, like, he's dead. Secondary character, she's not a main character. Melisandre, same thing. She hasn't been on the show since, like, what? Was it season 6 or 7? Maybe she was in, like, one episode of season 7. I would have to rewatch season 7. I think she was in one episode of season 7 at Dragonstone, I think. What else? I'm trying to think. I think that's really it Theon. Oh, Barrack. His arc has been done. And Barrack. Ed. Bruh, like, we didn't even see him in season 7. I think the last time we saw him was in season 6. So, yeah, his arc has been way done. He's not a main character. Like, so, like a lot of these characters, yeah, death did not affect me. Now, if you were getting somebody like Jaime, Tyrion, Sansa, Arya, bruh, if Arya died, which she should, would have been so impactful. So impactful. I would have been like, gosh, dang, that would be like, wow, this episode is really good. And done something like that. I would have been like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, overall, very disappointing episode. I just did not care for it. Not many main character deaths. Very much plot armor. Night King dying so easily. And, like, hey, my mind can be changed about the whole Night King thing if he's not dead. The plot armor, that's stuff that I still have an issue with. And, showing, like, Rhaegal, like, looking like he's died. Like, everyone's thinking that Rhaegal is dead. He's not. And Ghost, like, that's, like, issues I have also. In the whole lighting thing. So it's like, if I'm going to be honest, I might give it a 6 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10. I was, like, Miguel tried his best. And it's not his fault the writing was just bad in this episode. I think in terms of battles, it was great. But writing-wise, plot armor-wise, and the conclusion of the Night King / White Walkers, it seems like it's the finale of it. Just bad. And it seems like the whole White Walker threat is just a sidetrack of Cersei, even though Cersei should be a sidetrack of the White Walker threat. But that's it. I think I went long enough. Let me know what you guys thought about this rant and review. If I was right, if you guys agreed or didn't, agree with me. Like, I really want to have like a communication with Game of Thrones fans. And this is coming from a guy that hasn't really read the books. I didn't even finish book 1, and I also have Fire and Blood over there. And I only read a couple pages, and I might just start reading the books and seeing how George ends things. But I just find it funny that George hasn't tweeted about the show. I think he went to like Jimmy Kimmel Fallon and was even promoting his books when saying Game of Thrones is ending and stuff like that. And I was just like, yeah. But he was promoting the book. So, and he hasn't really tweeted about the show at all, I don't think. I think the last time I remember him tweeting about a show was The Last Kingdom on Netflix, which I believe I've only watched a couple episodes. It's pretty good, and I really want to get back into it. But it's funny that he tweets about that show, but not Game of Thrones at all. I just find that funny and ironic. But I hope you guys enjoyed this review / rant. I know I went on long enough. And let me know if you want me to continue reviewing Game of Thrones, episodes. As I probably will, because I enjoyed this dialogue of talking about the whole entire episode. Let me know if I really missed anything. I don't think I did. I know I jumped around a little bit. It's kind of hard to like remember everything that happened in the exact moments. But yeah, I hope you guys are having a great day. Make sure to rate this video if you like it. If you don't, you don't. Make sure to hit subscribe if you want to see more content from me about Game of Thrones. And hit the bell notification so you guys can get updated when my videos go up. And yeah. And follow me at Twitter at RedHood240. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. See you guys later.